Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Over the many years that I've done YouTube, I see variations of the same comment pop up on my videos all the time. Where does all this extra information come from? And to be honest, this is a fair thing to ask, because very often I go beyond the 7 books and pull information from things like extended publications, interviews, and most pertinent to today's video, tweets from JK Rowling herself. Some of these secondary sources are an absolute goldmine for digging deeper into Potter lore, and while they sometimes just reveal fairly innocuous things like character birthdays, there's also lots of good stuff in there that will change not just how you see a character, but also how you interpret major moments in the story. And because a lot of these factoids came from quick, casual replies Rowling posted on Twitter, they would have been pretty easy to miss. While Rowling has tweeted about many aspects of the Wizarding world, in today's video I'm going to keep it character-centric, starting with one of the biggest names of them all, Albus Dumbledore. One of the long-held beliefs among Harry Potter fans is that Rowling announced Dumbledore as being gay on Twitter, but interestingly she actually revealed this information much sooner, in 2007 during an interview. She only later followed up with this topic on Twitter, where she explained that this was a non-issue for the magical community. The wizards don't give a damn, it's all about the magic for them. Rowling also shut down several fan theories surrounding Dumbledore, confirming that Dumbledore was not a time-traveling Ron, and Dumbledore was not secretly Jeremy Corbyn. Rowling also shut down another popular fan theory, the idea that Fawkes was Dumbledore's Horcrux. She said it was strangely upsetting that anyone believed it, and added that it makes no sense if you've read and understood the books. However, she did also acknowledge that the fan theory of Dumbledore as death was a beautiful theory which fits. She also revealed that after Harry, Dumbledore is her favourite character. Severus Snape. Interestingly, no character received as much post-series clarification as Snape. There are lots of tweets to burn through here. Rowling described him as morally complex, not a villain you can dismiss, and not a saint you can worship. Snape is all grey. You can't make him a saint. He was vindictive and bullying. You can't make him a devil. He died to save the Wizarding world. She also boiled his entire character down into one brutal contradiction. The big hero/bully. He really was the best/worst. And despite everything, Rowling still emphasized one key point about him. Snape had his faults, but he was incredibly brave. When fans asked why Harry named his son Albus Severus, Rowling explained it wasn't random. It was about forgiveness and gratitude. Snape died for Harry out of love for Lily. Harry paid him tribute in forgiveness and gratitude. In honouring Snape, Harry hoped in his heart that he too would be forgiven. The deaths at the Battle of Hogwarts would haunt Harry forever. And that forgiveness came with context, because Rowling pointed out that Snape projected his hatred and jealousy of James onto Harry. Still, she said there was more to the naming decision than just paying tribute. There's a whole essay in why Harry gave his son Snape's name, but the decision goes to the heart of who Harry was post-war. Rowling also made it clear that Snape didn't die for noble ideals. He died trying to make up for his own choices. Snape didn't die for ideals. He died in an attempt to expiate his own guilt. And she stressed that while Snape could have saved himself, he chose not to. He could have broken cover at any time to save himself, but he stayed silent, refusing to warn Voldemort that he was making a fatal mistake by targeting Harry. That silence mattered, Rowling said, because Snape's silence ensured Harry's victory. And in doing that, Snape gained nothing personally. No praise, no reward, just the hope that Lily's cause would win. He stood to gain nothing personally, but the triumph of the cause Lily had believed in. He was trying to do right. And ultimately, she framed his entire life as a tragedy. Snape was a bully who loved the goodness he sensed in Lily without being able to emulate her. That was his tragedy. Alongside dismissing the theory that Snape was a hero beyond critique, Rowling also addressed and rejected the fan theory that Snape was a vampire. Draco Malfoy. Rowling didn't have too much to say about Draco, but she certainly didn't hesitate to weigh in on the way fans romanticize him. Girls are misguided to fancy him. She also confirmed Draco's birthday, June 5th, 1980. And finally, she addressed one of the more popular Draco fan theories head-on, making it clear that Draco is not a werewolf. Dean Thomas. Rowling revealed that in her original draft of Philosopher's Stone, Dean Thomas actually had a completely different name. He was called Gary. She also admitted that she'd totally forgotten she ever wrote that, until someone brought it back up by showing her an old image from the early material. I'd forgotten I'd called him Gary until I saw that pic just now. Remus Lupin. Why oh why did Lupin have to die? In a particularly hard-to-digest tweet, Rowling revealed that Lupin's death was written in narrative contrast to Arthur Weasley's survival, balancing emotional loss among the older generation of father figures. Arthur lived, so Lupin had to die. I'm sorry. I didn't enjoy doing it. The only time my editor ever saw me cry was over the fate of Teddy. She also clarified why Harry didn't name one of his children Remus, explaining that it wasn't an oversight or a slight against Lupin. It was a deliberate choice, leaving the name Remus for Teddy Lupin to pass on one day to his own son. She also added that Harry's naming choices were guided by a specific rule. He only chose to carry forward the names of people who had no family left to do it themselves. Harry only chose to perpetuate the names of the two who had nobody in their families to do so. Fluffy. Fluffy, Hagrid's giant, lovable three-headed dog, plays a fairly decent role in the first book and film, but then vanishes. This led many fans to ask the obvious question: what actually happened to him after the Philosopher's Stone was removed? Rowling's answer was simple and kind of perfect. She said Fluffy was repatriated to Greece by Dumbledore, which makes a lot of sense considering Fluffy is basically Rowling's Wizarding World version of Cerberus from Greek mythology. Hedwig. Hedwig's death hit hard for a lot of readers, partly because it feels so sudden, and partly because it's the moment the story stops feeling like a children's adventure and becomes something darker. Rowling later confirmed that this was exactly the point, explaining that Hedwig's death was symbolic, specifically the death of childhood. Peter Pettigrew. Wormtail sorting into Gryffindor is one of the biggest mysteries in the series. Cowardly, self-preserving, and ultimately traitorous, Gryffindor just doesn't seem to fit. Rowling addressed this directly by leaning on a line from Dumbledore that reframes the whole thing. She suggested that sorting isn't always a perfect snapshot of who someone is, but rather a reflection of who they could have been. As she put it, I sometimes think we sort too soon. He travelled further and further from who he could have been. Moaning Myrtle. Rowling mentions on Twitter that Moaning Myrtle's full name is Myrtle Elizabeth Warren, with no affiliation to the US Senator. Harry Potter's children. Rowling confirmed a few small but concrete details about the next generation. She stated that James Sirius Potter was sorted into Gryffindor. She also confirmed that Teddy Lupin was sorted into Hufflepuff, and that he eventually became head boy. And when fans wondered why Teddy was only seen at platform 9 3/4 a year later, Rowling clarified that it was so he could be there to say goodbye to Victoire. But of course by now, everyone knows all of the cursed child stuff. Hagrid. Though many major characters are eventually able to produce a Patronus charm, Rowling confirmed on Twitter that Hagrid was not one of them. While no reason was given, this aligns with the idea that casting a Patronus requires advanced magical ability and emotional clarity, both of which may have been challenging for Hagrid given his life circumstances. Given that summoning a Patronus requires a happy memory, this one's actually pretty sad if you think about it. Hagrid couldn't produce a Patronus. It's a very difficult spell. Uncle Vernon. In one of her more humorous tweets, Rowling said that Uncle Vernon was a fan of Top Gear and had signed the petition for Jeremy Clarkson's reinstatement. When asked if Vernon would have made a good host for the show, she replied, "His total lack of charm or charisma might have prevented it becoming a global franchise." Sirius Black. Rowling didn't say much about Sirius Black, but she did confirm that his birthday is November 3rd, so do with that what you will, astrology fans. We won, and Sirius Black was born on the 3rd of November. Hermione Granger. While addressing casting questions around the Cursed Child play, Rowling commented on Hermione's race, stating that while Hermione is canonically clever with brown eyes and frizzy hair, her white skin was never explicitly specified in the books. Canon. Brown eyes, frizzy hair, and very clever. White skin was never specified. Rowling loves Black Hermione. That said, many fans note that Hermione was described as having a white face in Half-Blood Prince. This does also contradict many of Rowling's earlier illustrations of Hermione. Madame Pince. Rowling mentioned that the strict Hogwarts librarian, Madame Pince, was inspired in part by her childhood fear of intimidating librarians. You're so wrong. She sprang directly from my childhood fear of scary librarians, the kind who hate kids. Crookshanks versus Mrs. Norris. When asked who would win in a fight between Crookshanks and Filch's cat, Mrs. Norris, Rowling sided with Crookshanks, citing his Kneasdale ancestry as giving him the advantage. It would be brutal and very close, but Crookshanks' Kneasdale ancestry would bring him out on top. Rapid fire for the last few here, but Rowling also revealed that Ron's Patronus is a Jack Russell Terrier, Luna Lovegood's birthday is February 13th, and of the Weasley twins, Fred was born first. And that's it for now. These tweets span a pretty long time frame, starting in 2007, so you probably knew a few of these things by now, but hopefully you learned something. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and to forget to live